If you're out there, if you're listening to me, I need you to understand what happened. It was 5 years back, August of 2019. I was 71 years old, and my life was stolen from me by my own blood. My name is Colton "Colt" Jennings. I'm just a simple farmer from Orion Parish, Louisiana, and my son, my oldest boy, Mitchell, the one I raised with these two hands, he threw me out of my own home. He tossed me into the old, rotted chicken coop like I was a piece of trash. It was a Saturday. The air was thick, so heavy you'd sweat through your shirt just standing still. I was on the front porch, same as always, sipping a cup of black coffee. That's when I saw his truck, a new one, shiny black, kicking up dust on the drive I'd carved out of the dirt myself. He wasn't alone. He had two men with him, big men with faces that looked like they were carved from stone. They didn't look like farmhands. They looked like trouble. Mitchell got out of the truck. He didn't look at me. He didn't say a word. He just adjusted the collar of his expensive shirt and walked right past me, into my house. The two brutes followed him. I stood up, my knee joint screaming in protest. "Mitchell, what's this? You got company?" He ignored me. I heard his voice from inside, sharp and cold. "That room, the master bedroom, clear it out, everything." "What?" I moved to the doorway, my heart starting a low, heavy drumbeat against my ribs. The two men walked into the bedroom. My bedroom. The room I'd shared with my wife, Amelia, for 30 years before the cancer took her. One of them grabbed the dresser. The other started pulling my clothes from the closet and tossing them onto the floor. "Mitchell!" I shouted, stepping inside. "What in God's name do you think you're doing? Get these men out of my house. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you." Mitchell finally turned to face me, and the man looking back at me, he was a stranger. His eyes were flat, like two polished stones. There was nothing of the boy I knew in there. "This isn't your house, old man," he said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room. "What are you talking about? I built this house. I built it with my own hands." He stepped toward me, and for the first time in my life, I felt a flash of fear for my own son. He held up a single finger. "You are an illiterate old man, Colton, and illiterate old men shouldn't sign documents they can't read." My blood went cold. The grant papers. You said it was a government grant. For farmers." He let out a short, bitter laugh. "There was no grant. That was a transfer of deed, a quitclaim. This house, this land, all 10 acres, it's mine. Legally." One of the men pushed past me, carrying my mattress. "Stop! You can't do this!" I grabbed for the mattress, and the second man shoved me. He was solid. I stumbled back, crashing into the wall. Pain shot up my arm. Mitchell's face was inches from mine. "I can, and I am. You should be grateful I'm not having you thrown off the property entirely." You tricked me," I whispered, the words choking me. "You're my son." "I'm the one who knows how the world works," he snapped. "And you're the one who's in the way. Now get out of the house. You're trespassing." He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in like talons, and physically dragged me out of my own home. He threw me onto the porch, and I landed hard on my hip. "Take his junk to the coop," Mitchell ordered the men. "He can live there with the chickens." I watched, frozen. I couldn't make my legs work. The two men hauled my life out, piece by piece. My old leather satchel, the one my daddy gave me. The antique radio Amelia and I bought in '85. My clothes, my boots, and then one of them came out carrying the framed photo of Amelia, our wedding day. He was holding it by the top, careless. "No!" I scrambled to my feet. "Not that! Please!" The man just glanced at me and kept walking. They carried my things 50 yards back to the old chicken coop. We hadn't kept birds in there for years, not since Mitchell said it wasn't cost-effective. It was maybe 10 feet by 13. A dirt floor, cinder block walls, and a rusted tin roof that I knew leaked. The door hung crooked on one hinge. One of the men kicked the door open. The smell hit me first. Old manure, damp, and rot. Spiderwebs hung from the rafters like funeral shrouds. They threw my things inside. Just threw them. My satchel burst open, scattering my clothes onto the filthy floor. The radio rolled into a corner. The wedding photo landed face down in the dust. I lunged forward. Amelia. Before I could take a step inside, Mitchell was there. He grabbed the front of my shirt, twisting it, pulling me so close I could smell the expensive cologne on him. "This is your place now, old man," he hissed, his voice burning into my memory like a brand. "All your life you wanted to dig in the dirt. So keep digging. This is more than you deserve. My son. My firstborn. The boy I'd held when he was born. The one I'd nursed through scarlet fever. The one I'd sold my best cow for." He said those words to me. My knees gave out. I would have fallen, but he was still holding me up by my shirt. I felt my heart hammer against my ribs, so hard I thought it would burst. He shoved me away from the coop. "Don't come near the main house. You understand me? Don't. Come. Near." He turned and walked away. The two hired brutes followed him. I watched their backs until they disappeared inside my house. I heard the solid, final click of the deadbolt. I stood there for I don't know how long. The sun started to set, painting the sky in colors of orange and purple that just looked like a bruise to me. I finally stepped into the coop. I knelt on the dirt floor and picked up Amelia's picture. I wiped the filth off her smiling face with my sleeve. "I'm sorry, Amelia," I whispered. "I'm so sorry, my love. I let him take it. I let him take our home." The men had thrown an old, stained mattress in the corner. Springs poked out of it like broken ribs. I tried to arrange it, laid a sheet over it, but it was no use. Darkness fell, and then the lights in the main house blazed to life. Every single light. Music started. Loud, pounding music I didn't recognize. Then, laughter. Women's voices. The clink of bottles. He was throwing a party. He had stolen my home, thrown me in a chicken coop, and he was celebrating. I lay down on that miserable mattress. I clutched Amelia's photo to my chest, and for the first time since she died, I wept. I cried silently, biting my lip so he wouldn't hear me, so he wouldn't have the satisfaction. Tears streamed down my face, soaking the collar of my shirt. The music got louder. The laughter grew. I remembered holding him at the hospital in Bryson Ridge. So small he fit in my arms. I remembered him on his first day of school, crying because he didn't want to let go of my hand. And I lay there, in the filth, listening to the stranger he'd become celebrate my destruction. At 6 o'clock in the morning, a loud bang on the wooden door jolted me awake. My back felt like it had been twisted with a wrench. I pulled myself up, my bones creaking, and opened the door. Mitchell stood there. He was wearing clean, expensive jeans and a pressed shirt. He looked like he'd slept in a feather bed. He looked me up and down, taking in my wrinkled, dirt-stained clothes. A look of pure disgust crossed his face. "Get dressed," he ordered. "You're not living here for free." "What?" "You're an employee now. You'll earn your keep. Be in the garden in 10 minutes. I want all the rows weeded by noon. After that, you'll slop the hogs." He didn't wait for an answer. He just turned and walked back to the main house. I stood there, shaking. My garden, my hogs. I washed my face with cold water from a spigot outside the coop and put on my old work overalls. My hands trembled as I buttoned them. I spent the morning on my knees, pulling weeds from the soil I had tilled for 40 years. Every plant in that garden I had planted with my own hands. Now, I was a trespasser in it. Around noon, Mitchell came out. He didn't come near me. He just stood by the porch, arms crossed, watching me like I was a piece of equipment. "You're slow, old man," he called out. "Hogs are next. Don't forget to latch the gate. I don't pay you to make mistakes." On Wednesday, he gave me my pay. He came to the coop and held out a crumpled $20 bill. "This is for your food for the week," he said. "It's more than you're worth. Don't spend it all in one place." $20. I had to walk to town. It's a mile and a half. My hip ached from where I'd fallen on the porch, and every step was a fresh jolt of pain. I went into Ms. Loretta's general store. She's known me since I was a young man. When she saw me, her hand flew to her mouth. "Mr. Colton, are you all right?" I couldn't meet her eyes. I just felt the shame burn on my neck. "I'm fine, Loretta. Just need a few things." I bought a pound of beans, a pound of rice, and a small bag of cornmeal. It took almost the whole 20. She packed the bag, her hands shaking. "Colton," she whispered, leaning over the counter. "I heard people are talking. What Mitchell?" "I'm fine," I said, my voice too sharp. "I don't need any help." I lied. I needed everything. I needed my dignity back. I needed my life back. On the walk home, I passed my neighbor, Corbin O'Malley. He waved, but his eyes were full of that look. The look you give something pitiful on the side of the road. I just nodded and kept walking, my head held as high as I could manage. Sunday came. I thought I might get a day of rest. I was wrong. Trucks started arriving mid-morning, expensive trucks I didn't recognize. Men in suits and women in bright dresses got out, laughing, carrying bottles of liquor. Mitchell was throwing another party. This one was bigger. They set up tables on the lawn. They had a caterer. A man I didn't know was standing at my barbecue pit, grilling steaks. The smell of it drifted over to the coop and made my stomach ache with hunger. I stayed inside, hidden, peeking through a crack in the cinder blocks. Mitchell was walking among them, shaking hands, accepting pats on the back. He was showing off my house, my land, and me. I was the main attraction. I couldn't stay hidden. It felt like being a rat in a cage. I had to get out, even for a minute. I went out the back of the coop and headed to the far side of the garden, hoping to stay out of sight. I knelt and just started pulling at weeds, anything to make me feel like I wasn't useless. I heard his voice, loud and carrying on the air. He wanted them to hear. "Gentlemen," Mitchell said, and I heard the laughter in his tone. "You see that old man over there, digging in the dirt?" I froze. I didn't turn around. "That's my father. Lived on this land for 40 years and never made a dime off it. Just a simple, ignorant farmer." The group of men with him laughed. "He signed the whole thing over to me. Didn't even know what he was doing," Mitchell continued, his voice dripping with pride. "Now, I let him live in that old chicken coop back there. He works for his food. That's life, fellas. The strong prosper and the weak serve." More laughter. vicious, mocking laughter. I gripped the handle of my hoe so hard my knuckles turned white. I felt the blood rush to my face, hot and furious. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to walk over there and drive that hoe into the ground at his feet. I wanted to tell them I built that house, board by board. Tell them I planted those pecan trees they were standing under. Tell them I paid for the college education that taught him how to be so cruel. But I didn't. I stayed kneeling in the dirt. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. That night I used the last of the battery on my old flip phone. I called my middle son, Julian. He lives in Atlanta, works as an accountant. I told him everything. He was silent on the other end for a long time. "I'm coming, Dad," he said, his voice tight. "I'm getting in the car right now." He arrived the next evening. His car was old, rattling as it pulled up. He got out and just stared at the chicken coop, his face crumpled. "Dad, oh God." "Go talk to him, Julian," I said, my voice flat. "Go talk to your brother." He stormed into the house. I stayed by the coop, waiting. I couldn't hear the words, but I heard the shouting. Julian's voice, high and angry. Mitchell's voice, low and cutting. It didn't last long. Maybe 15 minutes. The front door flew open, and Julian stumbled out, his face pale. Mitchell stood in the doorway, a smirk on his face. "You so worried about him?" Mitchell yelled so I could hear. "Take him home with you. Oh, wait, you can't. You can't even afford your own tiny apartment, can you, Julian? Mind your own business." Julian walked over to me, his eyes red. He wouldn't look at me. "Dad, I tried. He won't listen. He's not Mitchell anymore." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a crumpled wad of bills. $50. "It's all I have right now, Dad. I'm so sorry. My apartment, it's just too small. The kids, I don't have room." He was ashamed. Ashamed of his brother, ashamed of himself. "It's all right, son," I said. He got back in his car and drove away, fast. He didn't look back. I had one call left. My daughter, Sierra, she lives in Houston. She's a nurse and she's tough. When I told her, she didn't cry. She swore. "That bastard," she hissed. "That ungrateful, evil bastard. Dad, I'm sending you money. Everything I have in savings. You hear me? We are going to fight this. I'll find a lawyer. I'll call someone. My husband, he knows a journalist. I don't know, but I'm sending you money, right now." When I hung up, I felt a spark, just a tiny one. It was the first time I hadn't felt completely alone. That Friday, Mitchell had another party. Smaller, just his local friends. I was lying on the mattress, trying to find a position where the springs didn't stab me, when I heard them. Drunken laughter, stumbling footsteps. They were coming from the house. Bang! Someone punched the side of the coop. The whole structure shook. "Hey, Grandpa Chicken!" a voice slurred. "Cluck, cluck, cluck! Lay us an egg, old man!" More laughter. Bang! Bang! 2 more heavy blows against the thin wall right behind my head. "Mitchell says you like living with the shit," another voice yelled. I lay there in the dark, my fists clenched, my teeth grinding. Rage, cold and pure, filled my chest. I wanted to go out there. I wanted to grab the rusty shovel by the door. But I didn't. I was a 71-year-old man. They were drunk. And my son was in the house, letting this happen. Probably watching from the window. They banged on the walls for another 10 minutes before they got bored and stumbled back to the house. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the tin roof. and I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to die in here. I wasn't going to let him win. This was my land. This was my home, and I was going to take it back. The next morning, I woke up with the sun. The rage from the night before hadn't faded. It had cooled. It had settled into something hard and sharp in my chest. Determination. I wasn't going to be run off. I wasn't going to be Julian, fleeing with my tail between my legs. I was going to be Sierra. I was going to fight. I washed, put on my least filthy clothes, and I walked to town. I didn't go to the store. I went to the First Am Zion Church. Pastor Jedediah Stone was in his office. He's known me for 40 years. He baptized all 3 of my children. He looked up when I walked in, and his glasses nearly fell off his nose. "Colton, Lord have mercy, son. What's happened to you? You look like you've seen a ghost." I sat down, and I told him everything. The grant papers, the eviction, the Coop, the parties, the hired men. Grandpa Chicken. He listened, his face growing darker and sadder with every word. When I finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Colton," he said, his voice heavy. "I cannot believe. That boy, Marcus. I baptized him in this very church." He leaned forward. "But I'm afraid I'm not entirely surprised. You're not the first one, Colton." My head snapped up. "What?" "He's been doing this all over the parish, just quieter. He cheated Corbin O'Malley. You know Corbin had that stroke last year? Can't read so well anymore. Mitchell bought his 5 best acres for pennies, then resold them to an agribusiness firm for $100,000. Corbin didn't see a dime of it." My blood boiled. That thief." "There's more," the pastor said, his voice low. "He gave Emmett Tillman a loan, a predatory loan, when Emmett's wife got sick. The interest is so high, Emmett's about to lose his whole farm, and Mitchell's the one holding the note. And Loretta May Walton, the widow. Her husband wasn't in the ground 2 weeks before Mitchell showed up with a promissory note her husband supposedly signed. She couldn't read it. She was so torn up with grief. She signed over half her property to settle the debt. A debt that I'd wager my Bible never existed. The pastor looked me dead in the eyes. "He's not just cruel, Colton. He's a predator. He's targeting the old, the sick, the grieving, the people who can't fight back." "Then we'll fight back together," I said, the words coming out before I even thought them. "You need a lawyer, Colton," Pastor Stone said, "but a good one costs money." "My daughter Sierra, she sent me some," I told him. $1,000. She said she'd send more." "Be careful who you trust," he warned. I should have listened, but I was desperate. When I left the church, I didn't go see Corbin right away. I went to a diner in town. I was telling the counterman, just a little, and a man in a booth overheard me. He was wearing a cheap suit. He came over, his voice smooth. "Pardon me, sir. Couldn't help but overhear. You've been wronged by Mitchell Jennings?" "Who's asking?" "Name's, well, Fixer is what they call me. I specialize in predatory business practices. Mitchell's a shark. You need a shark to fight a shark. A lawyer will take years and all your money. I can get an emergency injunction filed. Have him out of that house by Friday. My fee, $1,000. It was exactly what Sierra had sent. It felt like a sign. I was so tired of being humiliated. I wanted a quick victory. "You can really do that?" "Guaranteed. I'll have the paperwork on a judge's desk by morning. He won't know what hit him." I met him an hour later behind the diner. I gave him the $1,000, all of it. He gave me a handshake and a business card with just a name and a number, "Wait by your phone," he said, and disappeared. I waited all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. The phone never rang. On Thursday morning, my stomach in knots, I went to the address on the business card. It was a small office above the hardware store. I walked up the creaking stairs. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. The room was empty, completely empty. No desk, no chair, just dust and a few old newspapers on the floor. He was gone. The money was gone. I sank down onto the top step, my head in my hands. I'd been a fool, a desperate, trusting fool, just like I was with Mitchell. I'd wasted my daughter's money. I'd wasted 3 days while my son slept in my bed. The humiliation burned worse than ever. But underneath it, the rage came back. Hotter this time. There was no easy way out. There was no shortcut. Fine. I'd do it the hard way. I'd do it the pastor's way. I walked out of that building and pointed myself toward Corbin O'Malley's farm. Corbin was on his porch, trying to fix a broken chair with one good hand. His stroke had left his right side weak. "Colton? What are you doing here? I heard—" "It's true, Corbin," I said, sitting on the step. "He threw me out. I'm living in the chicken coop." Corbin cursed, a long, low string of words. "And Pastor Stone told me he got you too." Corbin's face tightened. He told me the story. How Mitchell came to him, all smiles and sympathy, talking about estate planning and liquid assets. He said he'd manage my 5 best acres for me, Corbin spat. The ones by the creek. Said it was too much for me to work after the stroke. Offered me $25,000. Said it was a generous price. I can't read the fine print anymore, Colton. I trusted him. He's your son. He's not my son, I said. A month later, Corbin continued, his good hand clenching. I find out from the tax assessor. He sold those 5 acres, $100,000, to some big-shot corporation from Bryson Ridge. He called it good business. He's a thief, Corbin. He's worse. He stole my future. That land was all I had to leave. Then let's fight him, I said, my voice hard. I'm going to see Emmett Tillman and Loretta Mae Walton, and I'm going to get a real lawyer. Are you with me? Corbin O'Malley looked at me, his eyes tired but full of a new fire. I can't fight him with my body, Colton, but I'll be damned if I don't fight him with everything else I've got. Yes, I'm with you. We found Emmett Tillman trying to fix the engine of his ancient tractor. He's a big man, strong as an ox, but he looked weighed down. I didn't waste time. Colton Jennings, this is Corbin O'Malley. We're here because Mitchell Jennings is robbing us blind, and we hear you're on his list. Emmett wiped his greasy hands on a rag and looked at us. He didn't say anything for a long time. My wife, he finally said, his voice rough. Her kidneys failed. She needed dialysis. The insurance wouldn't cover all of it. I was desperate. He told us Mitchell showed up like a savior, offered a $10,000 loan. The terms, I didn't understand them all, Emmett admitted, his face dark with shame. All I knew was I needed the money. Now, the interest is so high I can't keep up. I've missed 1 payment. The contract says if I miss 2 payments, he takes the farm. The whole thing, for a $10,000 loan. He's a loan shark, Corbin said, disgusted. He's a vulture, Emmett corrected. He's just circling, waiting for me to die. Or we can fight back, I said. All of us, together. Emmett looked at his tractor, then at his house. I'm not losing my land, Colton. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm in. The 3 of us went to Loretta Mae Walton's house in town. She's a small, bird-like woman, still wearing black for her husband. She was scared when she saw us at her door. "Gentlemen, is something wrong?" We sat in her neat little living room, surrounded by photos of her late husband. "Mrs. Walton," I started as gently as I could, "we're here about Mitchell Jennings." She just burst into tears. It was all so fresh, so painful. "My Arthur, he wasn't even gone a month," she sobbed. "Mitchell came over. He was so polite. He said Arthur had a debt with him, a private loan. He had a paper, a promissory note. He said Arthur signed it." "It was a lie," I said. "I don't know. I couldn't think. I was so lost. He said I owed him $10,000. He said he didn't want to burden me, that I could just sign over the back 3 acres to settle it. So I did. I just wanted him to leave me alone with my grief." "He took advantage of you, Loretta," Corbin said, his voice thick with anger. "He stole from a widow," I said. "He stole from a man who had a stroke. He's trying to steal from a man with a sick wife. And he stole from his own father." I looked at the 3 of them, a man who could barely walk, a man drowning in debt, and a grieving widow, and me, an old farmer living in a chicken coop. "It's what he's counting on," I said. "He thinks we're all too weak to fight. He thinks because we can't read, or we're sick, or we're grieving, that we'll just roll over. He's wrong." "But he has contracts," Emmett said. "He has paper." "And we have the truth," I said. "Corbin, you said you knew a lawyer?" "My cousin," Corbin said. "Roman Vance. He's in Bryson Ridge. He's smart, and he hates bullies." "Good," I said. "I'll call my daughter. I'll get the money for the retainer, a real one this time." We made a pact, right there in Loretta's living room. We were going to take Mitchell down. I called Sierra that night. I told her about the scummy fixer and how I lost her money. I was so ashamed I could barely get the words out. She didn't care. "Who cares about the money, Dad? Are you okay?" "I'm sending more, double, and I made that other call." "What call?" "The journalist, my husband's friend. His name is Adam Ace Jennings. He works for the Public Trust. It's a big paper, Dad, one that loves to take down guys like Mitchell. He's interested. He said the father in a chicken coop angle is powerful. He wants to come. He wants to meet you tomorrow." "A journalist?" I wasn't sure. This was family business. "It's not family business anymore, Dad," Sierra said, her voice hard as steel. "Mitchell made it business when he stole from you. He made it public when he mocked you. Let this man, Adam, come. Let him see. Let him tell the whole world what your son did to you." Adam Ace Jennings arrived the next day. He wasn't what I expected. He was young, energetic, and wore jeans and a pair of old boots. He had a camera slung over his shoulder and a fire in his eyes. He shook my hand. "Mr. Jennings, Ace Jennings, thank you for seeing me." "Call me Colton," I said. "Colton, your daughter told me the broad strokes, but I need to hear it from you, all of it." "First," I said, "you need to see." I walked him to the chicken coop. I opened the crooked door. Ace stopped. He just stared at the dirt floor, at the broken mattress, at the bucket in the corner. He didn't say anything. He just lifted his camera and started shooting. Click, 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 click. He photographed everything: the cobwebs, the cracked walls, the single dim bulb hanging from a wire. He took a long, tight shot of Amelia's wedding photo, which I'd hung on a nail. Then he turned to me. "Stand in the doorway, Colton. Just stand there." He took more pictures. Then he pointed his camera at my hands. "Hold them up," he said. My hands? Please. I held them up, palms out, calloused, scarred, and stained with dirt from Mitchell's garden. Click. Click, click, click. Okay, he said, lowering the camera. His voice was different, tighter. Let's talk. We sat on the ground outside the coop in the shade of a mesquite tree. He didn't just ask about the eviction. He asked about my life, about Amelia, about raising Mitchell. He says I'm an ignorant farmer, I told Ace. He's right about the ignorant part. I can't read, but I'm the one who paid for the education he's using to destroy me. I told him the story, the one I hadn't even told Pastor Stone. I sold my best milk cow, I said, my voice thick. Her name was Betsy. She was like part of the family. I sold her to pay for his first semester of college, and when that wasn't enough, I sold my mother's gold locket, the only thing I had left of her. I sold it for his textbooks. Ace didn't write. He had a small recorder. He just listened, his eyes locked on mine. I sacrificed everything for that boy, I whispered, so he could be somebody. And this is what he did with it. This is what he did. Who else, Colton? Ace asked, his voice quiet. The pastor said there were others. I took him to Corbin. I took him to Emmett. I took him to Loretta. He listened to each of them. He recorded their stories. He photographed Corbin's weakened frame on his porch. He photographed Emmett's greasy hands, still clutching the rag. He photographed Loretta, weeping as she held a picture of her dead husband. And he collected the evidence. He took pictures of Corbin's fraudulent sales contract. He took pictures of Emmett's predatory loan agreement, with the impossible interest rate circled. He took a picture of the fake promissory note Mitchell had used to scare Loretta. I have everything, Ace said at the end of the long day. We were back at my coop. This is more than a story, Colton. This is a crime spree. The article runs on Saturday. Front page. For the first time in weeks, I felt something. It wasn't just determination. It was hope. We met with our new lawyer, Roman Vance, on Friday. He was sharp, just like Corbin said. We gave him the money from Sierra. These copies from the journalist are good, Roman said, looking at Ace's photos of the contracts. But I need the originals. The court will need to test the ink, the signatures. Where are they? Corbin's got them, I said. We gathered everything, all our papers, put them in his house, figured they were safest there. Mitchell wouldn't dare rob a man who's had a stroke, would he? Roman looked grim. You're dealing with a man who put his father in a chicken coop. Don't underestimate him. Get me those papers. Now. But we were too late. That night, Corbin called me, his voice frantic. Colton, get over here. Get over here now. I ran the half-mile to his farm. Emmett was already there. Corbin's front door was splintered, hanging off its hinges. His house was destroyed, ransacked. Furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, stuffing torn from the cushions. They came in. Corbin was shaking, leaning on his cane. I was in the back. I heard the crash. 2 men, the same ones, the ones you described, from that first day. I ran to the old roll-top desk where we had hidden the file. It was gone. The contracts, Corbin's deed, Emmett's loan, Loretta's fake note, all of it, gone. What do we do? Emmett said, his voice a low growl. He just destroyed our whole case. We called Roman Vance. He was there in 20 minutes. When he saw the mess, he swore, a single sharp word. He's not stupid, Roman said, pacing the wrecked room. He must have a source. Maybe the notary who's in his pocket. He heard we were lawyering up, and he destroyed the evidence. So it's over? Loretta's voice was a tiny whisper. She had arrived just after Roman. He's won? It's not over, I said. Everyone looked at me. That journalist, Ace, I said. His story runs tomorrow morning. Roman, you said the case was hard without the papers. Is it impossible? It's incredibly difficult, Roman admitted. It's our word against his legal documents. A judge will be hesitant to overturn a signed contract, even a predatory one. Then the newspaper is all we have left, I said, my voice hard as iron. He wanted to fight in the dirt. Fine. Let's see how he likes fighting in the light. That story has to be enough. It's our only shot. Saturday morning, Corbin O'Malley came rattling up to the Coop in his old truck before the sun was even up. He was waving a newspaper. He didn't even get out. He just held it up. I couldn't read the words, but I could see the picture. It was me, standing in the doorway of the Coop. My face wrinkled and tired, my old stained overalls. And underneath it, a headline in letters so big they took up half the page. What does it say, Corbin? I asked, my voice shaking. Corbin grinned, a crooked, beautiful smile. It says, Educated son evicts father 71 into chicken coop, celebrates in stolen home. He opened the paper. Ace had written everything. The story of Betsy, my cow. The story of my mother's locket. He printed the pictures of my calloused hands. He told Corbin's story, Emmett's story, Loretta's story. He even had a quote from Roman Vance, calling it a clear and disgusting pattern of predatory fraud against the elderly and vulnerable. He had told the truth. He had told all of it. The story didn't just run, it exploded. By 10 o'clock, Ms. Loretta had sold every copy of The Public Trust in her store. People were gathered on the street corners, not talking, but reading. Aloud. By noon, the first news truck arrived. A big white van with a satellite dish on top, from a station in Bryson Ridge. They found me at the Coop, a young reporter, a camera operator. They shoved a microphone in my face. Mr. Jennings, is it true? Are you really living in this chicken coop? Yes, ma'am, I said. My son, Mitchell, he put me here. They filmed everything. The coop, the house. They interviewed Corbin. They interviewed Loretta, who cried on camera. The story ran on the 6 o'clock news, then the 10 o'clock news. By Monday, my old phone was ringing off the hook. Radio stations, other newspapers, even a national cable news show. The whole world, it seemed, was suddenly looking at Orion Parish, and they were angry. Monday afternoon, I heard a truck skid to a stop on the gravel drive. Tires screaming. A car door slammed so hard I felt the vibration. Heavy, fast footsteps. The coupe door burst open, slamming against the cinder blocks. Mitchell stood there. He was a wreck. His expensive shirt was wrinkled, his hair a mess. His eyes were wild, red-rimmed. He was pale, sweating. He was holding a crumpled copy of The Public Trust. "What did you do?" he screamed. His voice was raw, cracking. "What did you do?" "I told the truth," I said. I was sitting on the edge of the mattress. I didn't get up. "You've ruined me," he shrieked. "My partners are canceling. The bank is calling in my loans. My clients are suing. They're spitting at me in the street. My friends won't even answer my calls." He stormed into the tiny space looming over me. "You have to stop this. Call them. Call the paper. Call the TV. Tell them you lied. Tell them it was a misunderstanding." Was it a misunderstanding, Mitchell? You ungrateful old fool. I gave you a place to stay. I gave you food. I could have thrown you out on the road. I slowly pushed myself up. My bones ached, but I stood tall. I stood until I was eye to eye with him. You took my home. You humiliated me. You mocked me. You let your friends call me Grandpa Chicken. You preyed on my friends. You stole from a widow. I took a step toward him. For the first time, he took a step back. I didn't do anything, son, I said, my voice as cold as his had been that first day. I just told the truth. You did all the rest yourself. He looked at me, his mouth open, gasping like a fish. He had no more words. He was cornered. He let out a sound, a choked, furious sob. He threw the crumpled newspaper at my feet, turned, and fled. I heard his truck spin its wheels, spraying gravel, and then he was gone. Roman Vance filed the class action lawsuit that same day. The public firestorm is exactly what we needed, he told me, Corbin, Emmett, and Loretta. We were crowded in his small office. The judge can't ignore it. The district attorney can't ignore it. He was right. The DA's office had already opened a criminal investigation into Mitchell for fraud and elder abuse. Without the original papers, a civil suit was tough, Roman explained. But with a criminal probe and this level of public scrutiny, Mitchell's legal documents are about to be treated like the toilet paper they are. He's trapped. The first preliminary hearing was a week later. The courthouse in Bryson Ridge was a madhouse. News vans lined the street. The courtroom was packed. We sat in the front row, me, Corbin, Emmett, and Loretta. Then they brought Mitchell in. He had a lawyer, an expensive-looking man in a sharkskin suit. Mitchell looked small. He wouldn't look at us. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Pierce, gavelled the room to silence. Mitchell's lawyer started in, talking about legal contracts, duly signed, family disagreements. Judge Pierce cut him off. I've read The Public Trust, Counselor. I've seen the television reports. I am looking at a 71-year-old man who was forced to live in a chicken coop. So save the family disagreement speech. Roman Vance stood. Your Honor, we request an immediate protective order and an emergency injunction to restore my client, Mr. Colton Jennings, to his home, pending the outcome of the trial. Mitchell's lawyer jumped up. Objection! The property is legally my client's. He has the deed. The judge looked at him. And he's also the subject of a criminal fraud investigation, isn't he? I've seen the pictures of this. Coop. This court will not abide elder abuse. She banged her gavel. Injunction granted. Mr. Mitchell Jennings will vacate the property at 4500 Willow Creek Road by 6 p.m. this evening. Mr. Colton Jennings is to be restored to his home immediately. We will see the rest of you at trial. I felt Corbin's hand grip my shoulder. Loretta was crying, but this time they were good tears. We had won. We had won the first battle. I didn't wait. Corbin drove me straight from the courthouse back to the farm. The front door was open. Mitchell's fancy truck was backed up to the porch. He was frantically throwing boxes into the bed. He froze when he saw me walk up the drive. We just looked at each other. He was full of hate. I just felt tired, and for the first time in a month, I felt home. I didn't say a word to him. I walked right past him, up the steps of my porch, and into my house. I walked down the hall. I opened the door to my bedroom. It was all there. My bed, Amelia's quilt, the old wooden dresser, the window looking out over the cornfield. He had slept in my bed, but it was still my room. I sat down on the edge of the bed. The mattress was soft. I put my hand on Amelia's quilt, tracing the stitching she had done with her own hands. I heard his truck start. The engine roared, and he tore out of the driveway one last time. And then, silence. The silence of my own home. I lay back on the bed, fully clothed, and for the first time in 23 days, I closed my eyes and truly, deeply slept. The final trial was a month later. It was a foregone conclusion. The criminal investigation had found the notary Mitchell used. He'd confessed to certifying dozens of fraudulent documents for Mitchell in exchange for cash. The judge was furious. She read her verdict, her voice ringing with contempt. All property transfers are ruled null and void due to clear, malicious, and predatory fraud. My house and my land were mine. Corbin's 5 acres were his. Loretta's 3 acres were hers. Emmett's loan was declared illegal and voided. Furthermore, the judge continued, Mr. Mitchell Jennings is ordered to pay compensatory and punitive damages. The total was a staggering amount, enough to wipe him out completely. And finally, she said, looking directly at Mitchell, this court refers all findings to the district attorney. You will face a criminal trial for your actions. I hope, for your soul's sake, they show you more mercy than you showed your own father. I heard Mitchell make a sound, like a wounded animal. I turned. He had collapsed, his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. Justice. It was done. Weeks passed. Life started to feel normal again. I worked my land. Corbin, Emmett, and I would meet for coffee. Loretta baked us a pie. Then, one Saturday afternoon, his old truck rattled up the drive. It wasn't the new, shiny one. That was gone, sold to pay the lawyers. He got out. He looked broken. He had lost weight. He was wearing old clothes. He hadn't shaved. He walked to the porch where I was sitting. He just stood on the gravel looking up at me. What do you want, Mitchell? I asked. He opened his mouth, but a sob came out. He tried again. I lost everything. You didn't lose it, I said. You threw it away. The bank took it all, he whispered. My wife, she left me. She took the kids. I have nothing. No job. No money. You sowed the wind, son. Now you reap the whirlwind. He looked at me, his eyes full of a desperation I'd never seen. And then he did something I never expected. He fell to his knees, right there in the dirt. He clasped his hands together. Dad. Daddy. Please. He wept. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I was a monster. The money. I just wanted more. I lost myself. I lost you. He was sobbing, his whole body shaking. It was all worthless. I see that now, all of it. It was worthless. I just want my family back. I'll do anything. Please. I watched him, the boy I'd raised, kneeling in the dirt in front of me. I took a long sip of my coffee. I set the mug down. Get up, Mitchell, I said, my voice quiet. A man doesn't kneel to another man. He staggered to his feet, wiping his face on his sleeve. He looked like a child. I forgive you, I said. His head snapped up, his eyes wide with disbelief. But you wait, I said, holding up a hand. You're not finished. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't erase what you did. You didn't just harm me. You harmed good people. I told him about Corbin, barely able to work his land. I told him about Emmett, who nearly lost his home. I told him about Loretta, a widow you preyed on. They deserve more than your tears, Mitchell. They deserve justice, my forgiveness. You have to earn it. How? I'll do anything. I'll pay I don't have money, but I don't want your money, I cut him off. You're going to pay with this. I held up my own calloused hands. With sweat. You are going to work. For 1 year. Without pay. He stared at me. You will go to Corbin O'Malley, and you will work his land for 4 months. You will do whatever he tells you. Then you will go to Emmett Tillman for 4 months. Then you will go to Loretta May Walton for 4 months. You will repair what you broke, I said, with your own 2 hands. You will give 1 year of your life to the people you stole from. A year? He stammered. Dad, I can't. I have to find a job. I have to pay my debts. I have to get my kids back. This, I said, my voice like stone, is the only way you get your father back. This is non-negotiable. You accept this penance, or you walk off this land, and you are no longer my son. I will not have a son who only knows how to ask for forgiveness, but isn't willing to work for it. Choose. He stood there, trembling. I could see the war in his eyes. The old, easy-way-out Mitchell fighting with the broken man in front of me. He looked at my house. He looked at my face. He looked down at his own soft, useless hands. He nodded, a single, jerky motion. I accept, he whispered. I'll do it. Then go, I said. Go talk to Corbin. You start Monday. On Monday morning, Corbin called me. You're not going to believe this, Colton, he cackled. The prince himself is here. In work boots. Put him to work, Corbin, I said. Oh, I am, Corbin laughed. That irrigation ditch by the back 5? It's been clogged with mud and rocks for a year. I just gave him a shovel. Have a nice day, Mitchell. I saw him from a distance over the next few months. When I drove to town, I'd see him. He was digging. He was hauling. He was mending fences for Corbin, who sat on his porch, directing him like a field general. At first, I could see the anger in him, the way he threw the shovel, the way his back was stiff with resentment. But he kept showing up, day after day, in the heat, in the rain. After 4 months, he moved to Emmett's farm. That was harder work. Mucking stalls, hauling 50-pound feed bags, re-roofing a barn. Emmett worked alongside him, 2 big men working in silence. Then he went to Loretta's. That was different. He wasn't just working, he was building. He repaired her roof. He painted her house. He fixed her broken porch steps. He built her a new garden box because he knew she had trouble kneeling. I saw him in town. His skin was tan and leathery from the sun. The office pudge was gone. He was lean, hard, and his hands. One day at the hardware store, he was in front of me in line, buying nails for Loretta. He paid in cash, with the little money Julian had sent him. When he picked up the change, I saw his hands. They weren't soft anymore. They were red, scarred, and covered in calluses. He looked like a farmer. He looked like me. One Sunday, about 6 months in, he showed up on my porch. "Dad?" he asked, standing at the steps. Can I sit for a minute?" I nodded to the other chair, Amelia's chair. He sat. We didn't talk for a long time. We just watched the corn sway in the breeze. "I get it now," he finally said, his voice quiet. I just looked at him. "When I started with Corbin," he said, "I hated him. I hated you. I hated digging in that mud. I was humiliated. But then," he said, flexing his scarred hands, "I kept working, and my back ached, and my hands bled, and I felt what you must have felt. Every day. For 40 years. He looked at me, his eyes clear for the first time in years. I finally understood. I thought because I had a degree, I was better, smarter. I thought you were all just simple. But this work, it's not simple. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's real. He had tears in his eyes. I know why you did it, Dad. I know why you sold Betsy. And I'm so sorry I made you. I didn't say anything. I just reached over and put my hand on his shoulder. It was the first time I had touched him, in kindness, in over a year. He tensed. Then he leaned into it, just for a second. The year ended. 12 months of hard labor. I decided it was time. I called Sierra. I called Julian. I'm having a dinner, I told them. A family dinner. I need you both here. It's important. I invited Pastor Stone, and I invited Corbin, Emmett, and Loretta. I set up a long table on the front porch. I used Amelia's good tablecloth. My children and grandchildren arrived first. They were nervous. They didn't know what to expect. Then my neighbors arrived. Mitchell was the last to arrive. He came alone. He was clean, shaved, but he was wearing his work clothes. He stood at the edge of the yard, uncertain. Everyone went quiet. He walked slowly to the porch. He looked at me. I stood up. I opened my arms. He hesitated. And then he came, and he hugged me. He hugged me hard, burying his face in my shoulder, and he just broke. He cried. I held him, my own son, and I cried too. We sat down at that table, my whole family, and the new family we'd forged in this fight. Pastor Stone said a blessing. We ate, we talked, and when the pie was served, I stood up. I raised my glass of iced tea. I gathered you all here for a reason, I said. A year ago we were broken, by greed, by betrayal. I gave my son a condition, a year of penance, a year to repay with his own hands what he stole with a pen. I looked at Corbin, Emmett, and Loretta. He has done it. He has worked. He has served. He has not complained. I turned to Mitchell. He was looking at his plate, his hands clasped tight. I told him that family isn't just blood. It's trust. It's respect. And he had broken that. He had lost the right to be my son. I walked over to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. But with every fence he mended, I said, my voice loud so they could all hear, with every roof he fixed, with every day of hard, honest work, he rebuilt that trust. He rebuilt that respect. I looked at him. And so tonight, in front of this family, in front of the people he harmed and who have forgiven him, I once again recognize him. I squeezed his shoulder. This is my son, Marcus Jefferson. Welcome home. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. He stood, and he hugged me, and the whole table. My children, my neighbors, they all stood, and they applauded. We were whole again. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.